This is Corey Jones with the Be Ready with Safetyman podcast. Join us every week for a new podcast. Follow us everywhere podcasts are played and on YouTube. Be Ready with Safetyman. This is Corey Jones. Welcome to Corey's Safetyman podcast. Corey and Anthony here. Today we're going to talk about a really prevalent topic. I think everybody's had this happen, but we need to be educated so we can survive it safely and legally, and hopefully without costing us any money. It's how to act safely when you get pulled over. Because, Anthony, people still get pulled over, right?
Yeah, and rule number one, you are going to get pulled over. Like, it's going to happen, you know? It's going to happen. So it's not going to happen it shouldn't happen every day for you, but if it does, then that's an issue. But it's going to happen sooner or later. You're going to get pulled over. So I think this is going to be a good podcast just to talk about some of the things that you can expect, some of the tips to navigate the situation safely. But, as always, we got to throw it up there. We are not lawyers, right? So this is not legal advice. I'll mark it down. Daniel, send up the thing again. Let them know this is not legal advice, but I think these are some good tips that people can, go about. And every state is different too. That's the other legal advice there. Every state is different when it comes to certain aspects of things, which I'll tap into like one or two things, but every state has their little differences the way they handle things.
Yeah, they do. So what's the first thing? Like you're still on the job. What are people asking? Friends, family, are people always asking, what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to put my hands on up? Am I supposed to, what do I do? What's the first thing?
I think the first thing to tell people is just to be calm and not, a word that used to be thrown around a lot is furtive movements. Mm-hmm. And what that means is like, if someone's looking at you from behind, a normal person would be doing this or this. But if someone's like bending down, someone's like turning completely around, now I think an officer probably feels uneasy. Like, what is that person doing? Why are they making these weird quick movements? What are they going into? So I would say the first thing is just to remain calm,
Sure.
Don't freak out. Big thing, I think, and you can attest to this for many years that you've been on the road, don't jump out of the car, right? Don't jump. Do not
No.
jump. You want to talk about that? Why that's not ever a good idea?
Well, first off, you're probably going to get hit by another car if you jump out of your car. People do not drive as safely as people think when they see a red lights on the car, which is why there's going to be some laws we're going to talk about a little bit later for that. Don't jump out, come running back to us. We kind of have a plan. We have some expectations. There's some things that we're doing in our vehicle, in that police car, as we're initiating and finishing up the stop part before we come up and contact you. So when you jump out and run back to us, what do we think is happening? Are you coming back to assault us? You're putting yourself in jeopardy by being in traffic? Or are you trying to escape some sort of problem or situation that's in the car? Or is this a criminal suspect trying to just separate him or herself from some illegal contraband or weapon that's in the vehicle? And we get all four of those things, and we're left to make a split-second decision of what we're going to do. And what's likely going to happen is we're going to get out, and we may draw a weapon, and we may start issuing you commands. Stop, get on the side of the road. Get on the side of the road. Don't come back to me. All right, because I don't want to be boxed in and pinned in. I don't want you out on the driver's side, out in traffic in that lane of travel. So all these things are for your safety, and we'll get into why officers react and speak and say certain things on this car stop. It's for your safety and ours, but it's for safety, right?
Yeah, and just for the listeners at home, I mean, Corey's got a lot of good advice, and I'm not going to mention the town that he worked in, but he worked in a town that had major highways, major county roads, major township roads in a very populated area in the state. So he's seen more car stops in more dangerous situations in more areas than probably most patrol officers out there. So what he's telling you is pretty legit stuff, and he worked in a really busy town with that, and he's been a sergeant and did patrol for many years. So obviously, please take his advice to heart when he's telling you some of this stuff. I think another thing, I put a whole bunch of notes down as always. Pull over immediately as safely as possible, right? If there's a shoulder, you want to pull over to the right as safely as possible. Now, if there's no shoulder, then turn your signal on to kind of acknowledge the officer that you see that their lights are on, that you are going to pull over. And if there's maybe a driveway into a gas station or a parking lot or a Target, mini mall area to go into, safely pull into that area if there's no shoulder on the side of the road. That's another safety tip, I would say. These might sound like basic to some people, but some people have no idea. Some people have no idea like what to do. Like they watch YouTube videos of people acting like maniacs, and they think, okay, I guess that's how I act. I don't know.
Yeah. Don't just stop in your lane. Don't just jam on the brakes. Just be calm. Take a second. I think that was the first thing you said is just relax. Just take a deep breath. Look around. Where's a safe place to stop? Okay. Hit your turn signal or your four ways on. If you want, even roll the window down and give the international sign. Okay, thumbs up. We appreciate that. You stick your hand out the window and give us a thumbs up. We understand that you might be looking for a safe place to stop. You may hear us get on the PA, pull your vehicle over right now. Okay, it sounds mean, it sounds authoritative, but that's just the only way we can talk on that thing. Say, sir, could you please pull your vehicle over nicely? Doesn't come out right on that PA system. It just doesn't. So those are another good things to lower the tension in there if you're nervous and you don't know where to pull over. Put your thumb out the window, give us a thumbs up real quick. Put your four ways on, turn your interior light on, and pull over to a safe, well-lit area that's out of traffic is ultimately what you want to do.
Another one I wrote down was, if it is at night, this is a question I get a lot of people I hear talk about. Is it illegal to turn your headlights on at night? Now, I can only speak from New Jersey, but yes, you can. When you're pulled over, you can put the overhead, some people call it a map light or an overhead light. You can turn them on and it illuminates the vehicle. Most officers, I feel like, would appreciate that. They can then see in the vehicle clearly. They see how many people are in there. They kind of get a general safe idea, like, okay, this person's not hiding or trying to put stuff or behind the seats or whatnot. So that's a safe one for both people, for the person in the car and the officer as well.
Right, and all these things tend to. So just take a mental list of everything we said to do. Calm down, put your turn signal on, give us a thumbs up, pull over in a nice, well-lit, safe area out of traffic, turn on your interior light, maybe roll down your windows. And all that shows us signs that you're less likely to be dangerous, that you're more likely to comply. So your ultimate goal is to not find yourself in a dangerous situation with law enforcement, but more likely your ultimate goal is to not get a ticket. Mm-hmm. And when you do all these things that show compliance, it really makes it harder for that officer to still want to issue you a motor vehicle summons in light of how much compliance you showed, right? But if you're just acting, I'm not going to do anything, and I'm just going to be a pain, the officers are human beings too, and they have feelings. So we want to always, in any interaction, we want to start moving towards compliance in that.
Yeah, 100%.
De-escalation, right? We de-escalate as officers, and you can de-escalate your own encounter with the officers too.
Yeah, and I think the next one, I think everyone loves to do. I like to do it myself. I love to blast music when I'm driving. I like loud music. I love it. But when you're getting pulled over, turn down the music. Turn it off, or at least turn it down really low, so that you can be heard what you're trying to say and the officer can be heard. Because the other thing you got to realize is the officer's outside the car. So even if you got the music on like level 9 or 8 and it seems kind of low to you, he's got traffic by you. He's got a radio on him. He's got probably, the car sound, the motors running behind him. So he might be older, can't hear as well too. So all these things. Yeah, exactly. So just turn the music down. Turn the music off. I mean, listen, I'm pretty sure he doesn't care what you're listening to or whatnot. And as soon as you can leave, you could probably turn it right back off. And,
And again, another de-escalation, another sign of respect. We come up, we don't hear that in-car stereo one. It's just another sign of respect that you're there. And then I guess you're going to go into hands where they can be seen, right? There's hands where they can be seen. We don't ask you to overdo it. This isn't one of those TV movies where you put your hands on the top of the ceiling or anything like that. Your hands where they can be seen, 2 and 10 on the steering wheel, kind of like loose, when they can see nothing's in them. Don't overdo it. Just kind of relax. If I get pulled over as a retired police officer, I still do the same thing that I did and that I teach. I don't take it as being demeaning, like, why do I have to perform for this officer? He works for me. That's right. But I still want to take it. I don't want to get into a use of force situation, and I want to show signs of respect. just like I would do to somebody in a restaurant who's serving me, somebody at TSA because I want to get on the airplane. I'm just a respectful person, and that just helps.
Yeah, and so like I said, you don't have to be over dramatic about the stuff. You don't have to, like you said, act. You don't have to put on a show. Just keep your hands on the steering wheel, until you tell him, "Hey, officer, my stuff's over there. Do you mind if I grab it?" I'm gonna grab, or just tell him, "I'm gonna grab my stuff. It's over there." And if he has an issue or something, he'll obviously tell you, "Okay, wait, hold on 1 second." But if your hands are there, he knows that you're at least being compliant to the situation. You're not jumping around, your hands aren't moving, because then he's got to watch everything else going on. And especially if there's 2, 3, 4 other people in the car, that becomes a very difficult, high stress situation to take in a lot of information at that moment of what's going on. Which brings you back to the furtive movements. Don't be tucking your hands underneath. Don't be grabbing for stuff. If you have your stuff organized already, that's like a number one tip. I know a lot of big pet peeves for officers, especially if it's late, it's cold, it's raining. They don't really want to be out there standing on the side of the road, from the guys that I've talked to, right? They don't want to be out there all night long in the freezing 12 degrees. So if your stuff's not organized and you got like McDonald's bags and you're digging through stuff and you can't find this registration card or whatnot, the officer's human. He's not a robot, so he doesn't want to be standing out there on the side of the road while you're trying to stuff. So a simple, just having your stuff organized together. Now, in New Jersey, right, you need license, registration, insurance to present to the officer. That's what you legally have to give to them when they ask for it. Other states are different. I think some states, maybe just need a license or just registration license or just insurance and license or whatnot. But whatever your state is, that you have to give to them. Corey, you want to explain a little bit about obstruction and what that is? Because I see a lot of these YouTube videos and people think, "Oh, I don't have to give that document," or "I don't have to give that," and people think, "Oh, I don't have to give my information up." Can you maybe explain what obstruction is?
Yes, driving is a privilege. It's not a right. So when you sign all the paperwork to get your driver's license or your driving documents, you're actually agreeing to cooperate with these few standards. Somewhat like giving blood or breath samples if you're involved in a suspected DWI crash. It's called implied consent. And also, when an officer legally stops you, you're required to provide your license, registration, insurance card, and any other identifying piece of paper that the officer can justifiably request of you. If you choose to resist, if you choose to ignore, if you choose to not comply, you can and likely will be arrested for obstruction of the administration of law. And then you're going to have a criminal charge. We're still going to get the documents that you wanted. So there's really no legal basis for you to not provide that, and it's not going to work out well for you. If there's 2 options there, and you're going to choose the wrong one, that means the initial reason you were getting stopped, you're probably going to get issued the summons for that, and now you're going to have additional charges which you're going to have to go to court for and answer in open court in front of a full group and the judge of why you refuse to comply with the lawful order issued by the police officer. So do yourself a favor, pause this video, go out to your car, get your license, your current one, get your current registration, get your current insurance card, make sure they're all current, take the other ones and get rid of them. I don't need to see that you've had insurance since 1975 and that you had 4 other cars. I only need to see the current one for now. There's nothing worse than you digging through it. It raises your stress level because you want to make sure it's there. Okay, so just get the current one. And finally, a lot of insurance companies are issuing their insurance card virtually, where you don't even get anything mailed. So you can have it as a PDF right on your phone. You can snap a picture of it. We're not being a pain on that. If you show us a current insurance card on a digital device, we're allowed to take it from you, only look at that picture and give it back to you if you give us permission to do that. So if you choose to go that route, just understand you may have to hand the officer your phone. We're not allowed to go rifling through any pictures or any other apps or do anything else, and then document that and then hand your iDevice or your smart device back to you.
Yeah. The organization is just, it saves the driver a lot of time too. Like just having your stuff and you know where it is, it just saves so much time and effort when it comes to that. A couple other things I guess I got is, and we went back to this before when we were talking about stuff. Just be nice. You don't have to act. You don't have to play like, you don't have to, play this game with the officer and kind of be a kiss ass. Like you can just be nice. Just be decent, respectful. And I think you have to remember something. The officer is not there to be customer service as your friend, like, hey, how's it going today? How are you? Like, they're there, they pulled you over, some infraction was made, they're there to notify you of what's going on and decide if they're going to or not give you a ticket. That's pretty much it. Unless there's a warrant or something along those lines, it's a different story. But, you just being commonly nice with them and just explaining the situation in a decent tone will be completely different than you just start screaming and arguing as soon as the officer pulls you over. If you start yelling at the officer, you're just setting we talked about de-escalation. You're already, as a driver, escalating the situation, and now the officer's going to yell back, and now he's escalating the situation. Doesn't mean he's right, but I'm just saying, like, if you're starting off on a negative tone, you're probably going to be met with a negative tone, right?
And Anthony and I will never sit here and say that every officer handles every motor vehicle stop perfectly by the book and emotion is not involved. We know that happens. We may have worked in a jurisdiction where we encounter that. We've clearly seen videos in our training where it's like, don't do this, of actual officers acting unprofessionally or downright criminal. Even if the officer is entering the situation in an unprofessional tone, if he's berating, if he's, pejorative, if he's using profanity or whatever he is, the worst case scenario, he's being or she is being that bad, I still implore you to lower the energy, lower the tension, and you remain professional, you remain calm, and you bite the bullet, and yes, sir, I'm sorry, officer, okay, officer, because a lot of these things are recorded now. You can record your own motor vehicle stop. It is not illegal. What I would say is don't do this and put it in the officer's face and try to be unprofessional about it or dangerous if you start whipping things out. But you say, officer, just so you know, for my protection, my parents told me to record this motor vehicle stop, or my company requires me to record this motor vehicle stop. Okay, I'm not saying that you're doing anything bad, officer. I'm just recording it for my protection, because they're probably recording it too. They probably have a body camera and a car camera and a microphone recording it.
Most departments now at minimum have a car camera at minimum. A lot of officers now have body cameras, and you're seeing more and more and more of them. So a lot of it's already being recorded. And I think with the people say, they ask about the recording. And I think, like, you made a good point. Yes, you can record the situation as a driver or a passenger of the vehicle. But again, you cannot obstruct the situation. So maybe could you explain how, like, someone with a camera could be obstructing an officer if he's trying to do his job? Could you maybe explain that so people understand?
I go to my kid's soccer game. I can be on the sideline and capture the play. I don't have to be 3 feet in front of my kid to capture the play. So you don't have to have the camera right in the officer's face. We're not using it to taunt the officer or to enrage the officer or to escalate that situation. Okay, we can calmly and quietly say, officer, just so you know, this is my phone. I'm going to record this encounter. Okay, I'm not going to be violent. I'm not going to interfere with you. If you need me to go to another area, whatever, just say it. And kind of just think about it from your perspective. What am I going to be able to record me better from here or way far away or maybe 5 feet away, so I can capture all the information? If more police officers show up, I can capture more information, more evidence, again, if we suspect that officer is doing something illegal. So you don't have to be right up in the middle of the action, because it actually limits, like body cameras, it kind of limits your field of view. Okay, so it actually helps you to stay in a safe location. If there is violence about to happen, you want to be in a safe location anyway. So don't use it taunting. Don't be antagonizing about it. Be professional and stay in a safe location and follow the officer's commands. If the officer tells you, no, you can't do that and put the camera away, it's a lawful order. You could probably challenge it in court. I would comply with what the officer says and then challenge it in court later. And I think we're going to get into that in a little bit.
Yeah. And so I think the other thing too is, again, with that is that you cannot, like, if let's say you're even a bystander, let's say there's a car stop and you're not even involved. Just because you have a camera doesn't mean you can walk up to the car stop and get in the way of the officer trying to perform a legal act, because that is obstruction as well. Even if you're a bystander, not in the initial incident, that's another obstruction situation where you're now impeding that officer's ability to do a job. And yes, you can be arrested for that. So you can get in trouble for that, and you don't want to get in trouble for something that you thought was funny. You want to make a little video out of it. You thought it'd be funny to put on YouTube or TikTok, and then all of a sudden you're going to have a charge, and you're like, okay, I might have got 1 million views, but guess what? When you go for that job in 3 years, and they pull up your records because all these places are looking up things nowadays, and they look up all your name everywhere. They can find any kind of legal document, and they say, "Oh, what is this obstruction charge, or what is this?" So yeah, you got a million views. That's great, but guess what? That job that paid $100,000 that you were trying for, they don't want someone like you working for them. So, you know, that's the thing about it. So you don't want to get charged.
Safety side of it too. The safety side of it. If you're videotaping law enforcement encounter, I guess you have your camera out because you think that it could turn violent. So don't insert yourself into a violent situation. We've had podcasts before where we're talking about riots and different things happening. We want you to get away from violence, to get off the X, to get yourself in a safe location. If you can get yourself in a safe location without interfering with the officer, because you're going to be walking across the street like this, looking at your phone, walking across the street. Cars are going to be looking at whatever the officer's doing. It's a recipe for disaster. It's a recipe for a motor vehicle crash. And the officer is going to see you out of the corner of his or her eye coming over, not know if you're a good guy, if you're an accomplice, or who you are. And we still have to worry to make sure you don't get hit by a vehicle or interfere in our stop, which now divides our attention between what we were doing and now we have to identify you, which in turn could make us speak more harshly or more abruptly to the original driver. Because now I need him or her to do something to do it now. Sir, stop, sit down. How can I help you? Right? I might have to do that. Now that you're just causing us to increase the tension in the area by entering the situation for no legitimate reason. Okay? Again, there's one of the things we talk about called revised priorities. I can be nice and I can talk nice and I can give you a chance to comply. But if something more important comes along, I might have to shut you down and move quickly so I can address this other problem. So think about the ramifications of those actions that we're doing. Again, we're not saying don't record these things. I like my profession being recorded because I think most of the time we're doing the right thing. Do it safely, don't be antagonistic, and don't involve yourself in the situation.
Yeah, 100%. The next thing going on to this, and I think people don't understand this completely. People, again, watch TV, they watch media, and they think, you are not going to win a court case on a car stop. That's not where it's solved. If an officer is going to give you a ticket, you're still going to get the ticket. It doesn't matter at that moment if you think you're right or wrong. You're still going to get it. Now, we have rights as Americans. We have a lot of justice systems that people might say they don't work or whatnot, but guess what? It's still there, at least, that you can go to. We have it. Some countries don't even have, you get a violation. That's it. You can't fight it. You can't, that's it. You're done. We have a system where you can go and fight it. So if you feel that you're unjustly been stopped or you've been, intimidated or whatnot, you can actually fight this. You can go to court for this. But it's not going to be solved. So if you're screaming in the middle of the street, you're yelling, you're being argumentative, guess what? When that does go to court, that's going to get played back. So you being calm about the situation, just, going with it, will probably play better in your favor in the long run if you're fighting it, that is.
Yes. And you are allowed to ask some very basic professional questions like, officer, am I under arrest? Officer, am I free to leave? You can ask questions like that. But did you hear I said it? Am I under arrest? Am I free to leave? That's almost like a demand. It's almost like a command, and that raises the tension. We're human beings. Okay, officer, am I under arrest now, or am I free to leave? And the officer will answer you. I need you to stay here. Technically, right now, you're in investigative detention. When this motor vehicle stop is over in about 5 minutes, we'll get you out of here, sir, ma'am. How's that sound? Is that okay? All right, I appreciate you asking. Right, and then they're okay. They're ready for that. But when you start being antagonistic, like Anthony was just saying, we are human beings. We have emotions. You don't really want Robocop. Robocop gives everybody a ticket regardless of the reason. You don't want Robocop. You actually want human beings, right, to be able to respond that way.
And I think that's something people don't realize as well is the word discretion. And unfortunately, I see less and less of it because it is becoming too robotized and cameras. So now the officers' discretion is becoming less and less. Like, it's like, yeah, you're getting a ticket. Like, this is what happened. I can't, because, there is still some discretion there. It still does exist. They can still decide not to give you a ticket. But if you get the robot, I've seen people on Facebook, they're sharing stuff like, oh, look at this robotic system that pulls people over. Guess what? You think that robot's going to be like, oh, you know what, you had a rough day. I'm going to let you go. You know, I feel bad. Or no, the robot's just going to write everybody tickets. That's how it's going to work. So, yeah, I don't know. Do we really want to get to that? I mean, I don't. But you know, I don't want it to get to that point where it's just a robotic system. You know, I want a human element there to make rational decisions and whatnot.
So when we're
Um,
talking about if we're going to argue or comply, one of the things is sometimes you know why you're getting pulled over. Most of the time I've gotten pulled over, I've known what I was doing. Either I was speeding or I thought, I went on a green arrow. When I went on a green arrow, thinking it was a green light, and I went straight. Fortunately, I didn't get into a crash. I knew what I did wrong. And I got this one cop, he was pretty upset with me because I basically cut him off. I totally didn't mean to do it. I said, officer, I'm so sorry. I was completely wrong. I'd understand you give me a summons. I'd ask you if you didn't. I'm going to see my wife. It's her second day at her new job. And I was distracted trying to find that. I totally cut you off. I'm so sorry. And I was. That is how I felt. Like I was embarrassed. I'm supposed to be better than that. I was embarrassed. I've been a police officer for 25 years. I was embarrassed that I did that, but I knew what I did wrong. So most of the time, you know what you did. Most of the time, most people know what they did. They know they were speeding. They know it's 25 in their development. They're doing 42 because they got to get to soccer practice. They got to get to their kid from daycare before 6 o'clock. If you don't know and you truly don't know, okay, that's fine. That's when we ask a simple question. After the officer says his or her greeting, good afternoon, sir. My name is Sergeant Jones from the police department. The reason I stopped you is my radar has you doing 42 and a 25. Is there any lawful reason for your speed? Right. So now they told you why. And is there any reason for it or not? Right. And then you can answer that. Usually the officers nowadays will tell you why you got stopped. And hopefully that can lower the tension level so you're not guessing and wondering why it was. Now, if you're a criminal and you know that, you obviously also know there's potentiality of that being found out. So the best thing you can do is remain calm and follow the officer's direction to minimize the likelihood of violence or force having to be used.
yeah. The A couple last things I want to get into. This one is an out-of-state thing, not from New Jersey, but a lot of states do this. And so I looked into a little bit of research. Again, I'm not a lawyer, but just wanted to try to talk about this. So some states make you sign for the ticket. We don't do that in New Jersey. I don't know of any departments that do, but some states they require you to sign the ticket. And from what I understand, this is not an admission of guilt. So when you are signing the ticket, it is just saying that you acknowledge the ticket and that you're either going to pay it or show up in court to fight it, which is your right. If you refuse to sign it, what that is saying is that you are refusing to acknowledge it and you're refusing to appear in court if deemed necessary. And if you refuse to show up to court, well, that's basically the same way that happens that you get a warrant for not showing up to court when you did something. So yes, you can be arrested for not signing those charges. So just to make that clear, now make sure you look into your state's case law or the guidelines your state has. But from my understanding, that's the clearest examples I could find. You might have a little more insight on that, Corey. I'm not sure.
It can be important if you're traveling interstate. So say you're taking a family on vacation and you're riding down 95 to Florida. For some reason, you want to go to Disney World with the family. Okay. There's some states that you're going to go through, especially being an out-of-state driver, that they're going to want you to sign for that summons right there on the spot. You don't want to get into a problem with law enforcement in another state. So as you're planning your trip, you're looking at hotels, you're looking at the rental car, you're looking at your prices. It doesn't take long to Google individual states and find out what their motor vehicle summons policy is. Because you also don't want it to run depending on what the policy is that they make you pay a bail right there on the street to ensure that you're going to answer for the summons. Because there are some states that do that also. So again, like we said before, when you're planning a road trip, part of you want to make sure as you change your oil is that all your documents are up to date and easy to retrieve so you can just, professionally and cooperatively hand them to that officer.
What else do I got written down here? The last one I have written down was the move over law. And so we had an officer that lived in this area, that actually worked in this area, and he was a trooper Sean Coleman. He was killed in 2000. Oh, I'm sorry, he was not killed. The law was in 2009, but he was killed a few years ago. He was working on the side of the road. There's a law in place called the move over law in New Jersey. A lot of other states also have very similar laws as well. And what that says is that when there is an emergency vehicle, now an emergency vehicle could be an ambulance, It could be a road worker. It could be a police officer, a construction vehicle that has its lights on. When there is a vehicle, emergency vehicle on the side of the road, you are to safely move over to a further lane if safe to do so. If it is not safe to do so, then you're advised to at least slow down as you're passing that car stop or that emergency vehicle. Because unfortunately, in Trooper Colin's case, he was killed on the side of the road working an accident scene. And this is and people don't realize this, one of the most dangerous things for officers is car stops because of this, of getting hit by cars. Same thing with construction workers that work road jobs and people that work the roads. This is one of the most dangerous things. People think that shootouts and explosions, that's how officers die left and right. Realistically, car accidents and motor vehicle stops and things on the side of the roads are statistically usually the most dangerous every year in and out.
Yeah. Indeed. Even you see tow truck drivers on I-95, at least one or two every year, unfortunately, get struck. And you know how fast those cars are going on I-95 in Philly. They don't slow down at all. They're doing 80, 90 miles an hour. And you see it last minute. This poor tow truck driver out there at 1 o'clock in the morning trying to help somebody with a broken down vehicle, and they get struck and killed. And it's unacceptable. So yeah, the move over law is there for that, just to increase your reaction time. And you can get pulled over if you fail to do that, and you can be issued a summons if you fail to do that, and the officer felt that you could have done it safely.
Yeah, and if you're not sure about what your state is, I think it's just common courtesy, right? Like, just slow down. Like, slow down, move over to the left if feasible. Just, I think that's just common sense. But, we talk about common sense, but I think that's just something that should be done anyway. And someone might say, well, okay, they're not going to get my license. I flew by. Guess what? Every car, again, probably has a camera in it. These cameras are getting more HD where they're so clear. It's amazing. They're going to pick up your tag for driving by. And guess what? You're going to get a summons in the mail 2 weeks later. And you're going to go, oh, crap, So they're going to have you dead to rights on the camera. So, yeah. Go ahead.
We kind of touched on it. If you follow these tips, it probably shouldn't be an issue for you. But what about if you think as a police officer impersonator that's pulling you over? You're by yourself. You're late at night in a deserted area. You don't see that marked car with the big overhead roof rack. Officers are using, like the one pictured behind you. It's got the interior lighting scheme. Don't be afraid, Anthony, but there's a police car behind you.
This whole time?
The whole time he was there. He's pretty stealth. It's a stealth dude. If you think that's happening, and you can add some of these things, is I always tell people to put their four-ways on, give them that thumbs up out the window, and if you're not sure, call 911. Call 911, tell them where you are and that you're being stopped. That operator will be able to find out within about 30 seconds if it's a legitimate police officer stopping you and guide you. Okay, the chances of a suspect working in cahoots with a 911 operator is impossible. So that 911 operator will immediately know, okay, yeah, that's this car from this district. He or she is trying to stop you. Find a safe location. I'll stay on the phone with you, sir or ma'am, until the officer makes contact if you want. And they will do that, or you can ask them to do that, right? But don't just keep driving. And if you're unsure, follow your instincts. The reason I want you to put on your four-ways and stick your thumb out is so if it is an officer in an unmarked or stealth type vehicle, he or she knows you're not trying to get into a pursuit or run away from them. And they'll be more understanding. I've actually had that happen to me. It was strange because I was in a fully marked vehicle, but this driver just was like, I thought you weren't a real cop. Can you show me your ID? And I'm standing in full Class A uniform. So I just stood up a little bit more and shined a flashlight on me so she could see my full Class A uniform. I was like, my ID is back in my car. I can go get it if you like, ma'am, but is this identification enough? I said, I'll even allow you to step out and you can look at the police car. It's a fully marked police. And then she was happy. And I wasn't mad at her. She was legitimately nervous. I don't know if she had been a victim of something in the past, but she was legitimately nervous. So again, those three things, if you think it's a police impersonator, which hits the news at least once a month, four ways on, give the high sign out the window, thumbs up, I got you. Look for a safe, well-lit, populated location, a gas station, 24-hour store. Obviously, if you know where the police department or fire department is, you can go there and call 911. Don't call your 7-digit number, call 911. Tell them where you are, describe your vehicle and what your concerns are, and they will immediately offer assistance.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too, is you can put it on speakerphone I don't know where my phone is, but you can put it on speakerphone and just put it down and still be able to talk, keep your hands clear in case it is a real officer. And you can say, hey, I'm getting pulled over in this area, because here's the thing. Most departments, I would assume it's standard that you have to call out your traffic stop. Officers are supposed to be calling out their stops every single stop that they do. So right away, a location will be known. A lot of cars have GPS in them now, in the patrol cars, so they'll know right away where they're at. So if you say, even if you're not sure where you're at, but you say, I'm near Wawa convenience store right here, next to this church and this. The 911 dispatcher, if they're in your county, will probably have a pretty good idea right away, even if you don't know the road and name, where you're at or a general location, and be able to verify, like you said, in 30 seconds or a minute, oh yeah, we have an officer stopped there in this area right now. Does that sound familiar, ma'am? Yes, it does. Okay, that is officer so-and-so, badge number, blah, blah, blah. Simple. Yeah. So if you're not sure, you can't see, you're looking at the back, is that a real police car? It looks kind of weird. Dial 911. And if the officer comes up, let them know, sir, I have 911 on. I wasn't sure if you're a real officer. And guess what? If your phone's on 911, and let's say that is an imitation officer and they're faking the situation and they hear the 911, you think they're going to stick around and wait to find out what happens? No, they're going to jump in the car and take off. So, but it does happen, unfortunately. So obviously, if it's something suspicious, you can call 911 to report that situation or whatnot.
Yeah, we want to keep you safe.
Yeah. So that's all I got on the basic stuff today. I just, again, how for people to act safely. This is not legal information, but it's not going to guarantee and say, oh, I saw the Safetyman show, this is how you get out of a ticket. No, it's not that. It's how to be safe on the car stop. So no one gets hurt, no one gets injured, the situation goes to where it needs to go, and that's it. We want everyone to be safe out there. No one wants to see people get injured, get hurt, get your cars damaged in a traffic accident. We don't want to see that. No one wants to see that. So this is just information on how a person can stay safe, so.
Exactly. And that's our number one goal. That's why I'm Safetyman. We want to stay safe. There's a lot of good information I want to give you right now about some of the things I'm performing in New Jersey and Pennsylvania is firearms training for civilians and police agencies if you want that also. But if you're a new gun owner or you think about purchasing a firearm for self-defense and defense of your family, I'm a certified, NRA certified instructor. I can get you safe and effective with your weapon of choice, providing it's legal, to defend your family and your home. So you can contact me at safetyman.co. It says down there on the bottom, safetyman.co, Safetyman. Facebook at safetyman.co, Instagram safetyman.co, Twitter safetyman.co. You'll see some pretty cool videos of some of my clients shooting for the first time, and it's just a beautiful sight to see that they were afraid of this weapon, and now they're tactically sound with the weapon.
Yeah, and even though I don't work for Corey or I work with him, this is just a fun thing that we do on the side. I can attest to his training. I have trained with him. He's actually trained me in different situations. He's A+. So even though I don't work for him or I don't make any money off this, I can attest to the fact that he is a good trainer. And he's very patient, too. He's very patient because there is a lot of trainers out there that like to yell. He's very, very patient and will teach you some good things. So. For sure.
Thanks for that, Anthony.
You're welcome.
Eat a hoagie, right?
Yep, on Twitter you can find me Eat a Hoagie. That's the best way to get a hold of me. Yeah, I appreciate it. If you guys have any ideas for future episodes, feel free to let us know. We love talking about different things that we can legally talk about and keep everyone safe. So if you have ideas, feel free to let us know. Hey, we should do this, we should do that. Drop it in the comment section below. Let us know what you think. Or if there's something we didn't cover in this episode, drop it in the comments. We'll talk about it in another one for sure. So, all right. Well, thank you guys, and I will see everybody on the next one. So,
all right, be safe.
See you guys.